All right, let's jump right into a story that's, well, it's a pretty wild case of digital forensics. We're going to explore how an app that millions of people trust was secretly hijacked and turned into a powerful spy tool, all happening on a brand new iPhone.
So I want you to imagine something. You download an app, something you use all the time. But what if, underneath that familiar icon, it's a complete fake, a carefully crafted imposter designed for one reason: to watch everything you do? That is the exact mystery we're about to unravel.
So, where did this all begin? Well, the entire investigation kicked off with just a single bizarre clue, something that just didn't make sense in today's world of software. It was kind of like finding a dinosaur fossil inside a brand new Tesla.
Okay, so check this out. It's 2021, right? The official WordPress app for iPhones is on version 17. But this phone, a new iPhone 8 Plus, was somehow running version 1.0. We are talking about a version that's over a decade old. This wasn't a glitch, no way. This was a deliberate act of digital time travel. Now you're probably thinking, how is that even possible? You can't just download an ancient app from the App Store. And you'd be right. The only way to pull this off is by using this special developer loophole called an enterprise certificate. It's basically a backdoor attackers use to sideload apps, completely sneaking past all of Apple's security guards and installing whatever they want. So with that first massive red flag, the hunt was officially on. The investigators knew this app was a phony, but to figure out who built it and, more importantly, why, they had to start dusting for digital fingerprints. And you'll never guess where they found them. The investigators knew exactly where to dig. You see, every app you have has this hidden, ingredient list. It's called a software bill of materials, or SBOM for short. It's usually buried deep in the legal licenses, that wall of text that nobody ever reads. But for a digital detective, that's pure gold. So that's exactly what they did. They started digging, scrolling through pages and pages of this dense legal text, looking for just one little thing that seemed off. They weren't just skimming, they were on a mission, auditing every single piece of open source code that was baked into this counterfeit app. And then, boom, there it was right in the list, App Center. Now, that's a Microsoft tool that developers use to test beta versions of their apps. It has absolutely no reason to be in a public official release. This was it. This was the smoking gun. It proved, without a doubt, this was an unauthorized, repackaged imposter. And once they found that first solid piece of evidence, while the mask started to crumble, the clues they found in those licenses began to paint a really, really bizarre picture of what this thing was actually made of. This thing wasn't just an old app. It was a digital Frankenstein's monster. Seriously. It was all stitched together with this crazy mix of code. Some parts were ancient, others were brand new. And that clunky, laggy feeling the user had, that's because it wasn't even a real native app. It was using a framework called React Native to basically stream a fake user interface from a server somewhere. You weren't actually typing into WordPress, you were typing directly into the attacker's trap. And here's the kind of funny part. For all their cleverness, the attackers got sloppy. The investigators found the word GnomeVision buried in the license text. I mean, come on, that's a famous placeholder name from a standard license template. The attacker was so lazy, they just copy-pasted the whole thing without even bothering to clean it up. It was a classic quick and dirty job. But this is where things go from sloppy to seriously scary. The team found some code libraries inside the app with copyrights from Facebook and Google, dated all the way back to 2014. And these weren't just any old libraries. They were the exact same digital fingerprints from a totally separate hack back in 2017, one that originated from Tel Aviv. This wasn't some new kid on the block. This was an old enemy, reusing their greatest hits. Okay, so now they had a pretty good idea of who was behind this. The big question was, what was this app built to do? The answer is pretty chilling. It was designed for one thing: total surveillance. It turned that iPhone into a spy in your pocket. The license files basically laid out the entire spy toolkit. You had gRPC, which let the attacker send silent, real-time commands to the phone. Then there's LevelDB, used to create a hidden database, which is basically a keylogger that recorded every single tap. And to top it off, PCR, a super powerful search tool, was constantly scanning all the user's files for specific keywords. And when I say total surveillance, I mean total.
It was watching the file system, so it knew every time a new photo or document was saved. It intercepted system events, so it knew when the phone was locked or unlocked. It even had its own encryption to hide its tracks from security tools. And this is the most devious part. It created invisible overlays. So you might think you're tapping publish, but you're actually tapping a hidden button that gives the attacker what they want. And now we finally know why they went through all that trouble to make it look like version 1.0. It was an absolutely brilliant and evil move. See, in 2021, Apple rolled out that app tracking transparency feature, the thing that makes apps ask for your permission to track you. But by pretending to be an app from before that feature even existed, the attacker guaranteed that privacy pop-up would never show up. The user had no idea. They were never even warned. So, the investigation part was over. The evidence was undeniable. And that's when the mission flipped. It went from passive observation to an active, aggressive counterattack. And it had a code name, Operation Heart of Glass. This is where the tables get turned, big time. Remember that sloppiness I mentioned? The attacker reusing old code with these unique internal names like FB Lazy Vector? Well, that became their undoing. Those unique digital fingerprints that they used for spying were now the target for a search and destroy mission. And the counterattack was fast and precise. 4 steps. 1. Identify that malicious fingerprint. 2. Scan every single app on all the user's devices. 3. Automatically quarantine anything that's infected, stripping its permissions. And 4. Black hole all the attacker's traffic. Cut them off at the source. And this wasn't just a simple file search. A global swarm of security tools did a deep dive, a binary scan going right into the compiled code of every single app and comparing it, bit for bit, against the attacker's signature. Think of it like a DNA test for software. On one side, you have clean code. On the other, the malicious fingerprint. They were looking for an exact match. And it worked. The scan was a massive success. And guess what? The malware wasn't just in the WordPress app. They found it hiding in other places, old utility tools, even a camera app. But they found every last trace. It was all quarantined, neutralized, the threat was gone. So this whole wild ride brings us to one final kind of sobering thought. Every single app on your phone has that hidden ingredient list, right? That software bill of materials. What this story shows us is that it can be a crime scene, a blueprint for an attack, and even a weapon to fight back. It really makes you think, doesn't it? Have you ever thought about what's really inside the apps you trust every single day?